Welcome back. With your newly developed where clause finesse, you are able to help Cinderella and Charlie immensely. Today we are going to add yet another skill to your tool belt, and this skill is using something we call functions. After today's lesson, you will be able to understand what a function is and use the sum function in a query. Functions are special keywords that perform operations on columns. Today we'll talk about the sum function, and how functions work will become a lot clearer. To do this, we'll look at an example where the sum function will come in handy. Prince Charming has been on a penny-saving streak. He has been hinting to Cinderella that she has been spending way too much on her parties. Cinderella has promised him that she would spend this week analyzing party costs rather than planning another party. Cinderella took some of the dwarfs off data entry duty and gave them new titles of data analyst dwarfs. She thought Dopey and Happy would be the least critical of her spending habits. She asked you to build some queries to help them with their analysis. The first query Cinderella requested was a sample report of how much she spent on the pink party, or party ID 1. If you recall, Kathy created a table called party cost that stored the amount spent on parties. It stored the party ID and the amount paid for that party ID on a particular day. So we could write a query like this to get all of the costs for party ID 1. The result set may look like this. So one day Cinderella spent $1,000 on this party, and another day she spent $2,500 on this party, and another day she spent $500, and still another day she spent $1,000. So we could add up all of these rows manually to get the total amount paid, or the sum of the amount paid. We could add the row with 1,000 plus 2,500 plus 500 plus 1,000 and see Cinderella spent 5,000 on party ID number 1. But wouldn't it be great if we could bring the sum of the columns back without all of that manual addition? Especially if Cinderella wants us to do that for all of the parties? An easier way to get this total, or sum of amount paid, would be to use the sum function. The sum function returns the total sum of all of the rows returned in a numeric column. You could write a query that looked like this. Select sum, parentheses, amount paid, from party cost, where party ID equals 1. Note, the word sum is next to the amount paid column, and the amount paid column is in parentheses. The parentheses around the column you are using the function on are required. And the result set would look like this. We could see the total spent on this party was 5,000, and we only had to write a single query without doing all that addition on the side. If Cinderella wanted to see the total amount she spent on all of the parties in the database, we could remove the condition saying where party ID equals 1 and write a query like so. Select sum, amount paid in parentheses, from party cost. When we showed her the result set, Cinderella would find she spends a ton on parties and may be concerned about how much she spent. Since Cinderella would be mortified to tell Prince Charming how much she was spending, she asked you to write a query for only the current month. So you could write a query like this, limiting the amount spent only to the current month. Select sum amount paid from party cost, where date paid is greater or equal to 8/1/2018 and date paid is less than or equal to 8/31/2018 to only get the amount paid in August. And return results like this, which would be much less daunting to present to Prince Charming than the query that showed how much Cinderella spent on all of the parties in the database. So now that we have seen what a function is and have used the sum function in a query, it is time for you to have some practice with it. In the next lesson, we will see how we can use the sum function with something called group by, which can make the sum function even more helpful.